For the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We have a few announcements tonight. First of all, a reminder, the Easter egg hunt will be this Saturday, April 13th at Highbridge Hill Elementary School. All of this information I'm going to announce is on our website for those of you that want to follow up. Field Cleanup Day will be April 13th. This is for the baseball fields. Volunteers are needed. Messy Canvas Paint Nights. Kids will be on April 23rd at Highbridge Elementary School from 5 to 7. Adults on April 26th at the schoolyard from 7 to 9. On April 27th, there'll be a townwide cleanup day starting at Memorial Field on Temple Road. It'll go from 7 to 2. And a reminder that we have adult recreation on Sunday nights from 6 to 9 p.m. They have basketball at Boynton Middle School along with pickleball and cornhole at Highbridge Hill Elementary School. And again, I'm going to put out a request to everybody that's watching this that we are still in need of volunteers for our different boards, and anyone that's interested in a gardening club to help spruce up some of the areas in town. We're looking for volunteers. This evening we've got Destination Imagination team from Messinic here. We'll be discussing Animal Control Officer position, pool director, the FAC, the ordinances, and then we have a non-public. So I'm going to guess this is the Destination Imagination team.
Yes.
Congratulations, and what can we do for you?
So basically, we are looking for the town of New Ipswich to help us with financial support on helping this go for past years, help us send us to global finals. For those who don't know what Destination Imagination is, it's a program which requires kids to think outside the box, but also come up with a creative solution. So our problem this year was we had to create an aircraft that could create lift as flight, takeoff, and land while drop an object into a drop zone area, and we had to come up with a skit and integrate that aircraft into it in 8 minutes. With all our hard work, we were able to kind of take first at regionals, second at states. Now we have an amazing opportunity to go to global finals in Kansas City. But as the years come by, us relying on the community, because Messinic District always sends usually one team to global finals each year, and our school district doesn't allow us to fundraise until we win. So that's 2 months to ask the community for about $15,000. And that's hard to do as we look back at our numbers. Canning, which usually is a big fundraiser for us, we're getting less and less donations each year, so it's becoming much harder for us to earn that money. But Destination Imagination is a great program. It teaches you the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, the arts, and even English and social studies. But it also teaches you the public skills you need, like public speaking, teamwork, time management. Honestly, I don't think without DI I could be up here, well, right here, talking in front of you because I was so shy when I was little. So I think this is a great way to use the trust fund from Spalding to fundraise for this program that helps so much kids come out of their shell.
You say from Spalding.
There's a Spalding Trust Fund. He left some money for the school years back, and I guess they finally found it. So he was left for the school and the school activities.
There's 4 trust funds that were marked for the school. 3 of them are for maintenance. Only 1 of them can be used for any sort of educational purposes.
Correct, but if I recall, and I could stand correct. By the way, you are on TV, so now you're really in front of a lot of people. The town has to manage those funds through the trustees of the trust funds.
Mm-hmm.
But who are the agents of those funds? I thought was the school.
That I'm unsure. it was, someone contacted me, I told them what to, about that fund, and I told them that the trustee of trust funds, Carol Romer, would probably be able to answer that question more, and I do believe someone came and picked up paperwork, but I don't, that's, like I said, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So, Woody Meisner, had a copy of the will where this trust fund was established, and it was in the 1850s, I believe. It's all handwritten, pages and pages and pages. And so I had provided a copy, to, the gentleman in the back, and, Woody had said that it would be up to the Board of Selectmen to decide if this were an appropriate purpose based on the will. And
So on item 17 is the area for the school enrichment. And with item 17, the trust fund, the selectmen, the town is actually supposed to appoint people to manage the trust fund and disperse it.
Which is the trustee of the
And
trust
that's-
fund.
So, and it's a 3-member committee voted annually.
Yep.
So I feel that's the trustees of the trust fund.
Mhm.
And it says if the town, if that is not done, it falls, if there's not somebody done to disperse that, it falls back to the selectmen. So it's whether the selectmen choose that it's their responsibility to disperse money or the trustees of the trust fund.
See, the way the trust funds work, unless the selectmen are specifically by warrant article listed as the agents to expend, we can't expend unless it's done via a warrant article. But I haven't seen that will, I haven't seen how that trust fund was set up. We can look into it.
Should that be
But
referred to
till-
Bart, maybe?
Well, I think the trustees
Trustees.
should be able to know, especially if we know what year it was set up, they should be able to find that out.
1876.
1876.
Okay? You've got copies of that?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can look at it and get back to you on that.
Great, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Good luck. So is it the same challenge when you go, or do they change the event?
That challenge is the same, but you also have to solve an instant challenge, but you don't know that till you walk into that room.
Good. And how come everybody else is so quiet? Did you draw the short straw?
Probably.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good luck. And congratulations.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Which was new?
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
I had
Yeah.
confirmation, but
Could you print us all out a copy of that? Spalding Trust Fund, so we can read it.
I can forward.
Not right now. Yeah,
email
sure.
or-
Yeah.
Email
which-
it, please.
Okay.
It's called Spalding.
Mhm.
Question, when do you need an answer by, for funding and such?
We leave May 21st, so anytime before then.
So is it your goal to at least start raising funds throughout the year so that you can use it the following
we'd
year
like to
if
start
you?
more teams at the high school because this is the first team that we've ever had at the high school. Because it's as you kind of get up to like high school level, you lose interest because of like jobs, sports, other stuff like that. We managed to work around our schedules and start the first team up there, and now we spark more interest up there. But to start a team, you have to buy the materials and stuff.
Mhm.
But they're not allowed to raise any funds for their trip until they win. The school doesn't allow it.
School doesn't allow it. You should talk to the school about a capital reserve account for students.
Yeah.
Alright, the next thing on the list here is the animal control office position. When we were doing the budget, we hadn't, the board had not allocated that, but the budget committee had. And we need to decide whether we're going to try and put out that position or how we're going to handle it. Any thoughts?
Well, in the past, I think the police departments acted as animal control.
Yeah.
They have.
How critical is it?
Well, I know Chief Carpenter would like to have that handled by someone else. I think we tried to reach out to the person that handled it for Greenville, which was not from Greenville. I think it's maybe from Temple. Maybe they've been doing Greenville and we had no response. If the board's in concurrence, we could, put an advertisement out there and see if we get any
Yeah, I'm
response.
fine with that. I just put an ad in the paper.
Or maybe we could have Collide touch base with the other towns and see if they have a part-timer who would like to expand their
The-
activities.
The ones that are in the area, that's the ones we reached out to.
Oh, so,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
go.
And it's not rude if y'all are tired and want to leave. That's, I mean, it's obviously you get a
This
great,
is a great
great
civic-
civics lesson, and they don't teach civics in school anymore, so it's a great civics lesson. But
Well, I think we could
Yeah.
start making they're leaving. I was gonna say, we were gonna appoint you to some committees.
thank you so much.
Is there liaison committees?
Can you,
I don't think so.
see if you can write something up for that, post it on the website and,
This is just a written thing.
Oh. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
thank you.
I know it was pretty awesome. This is the first year the high schools had a team, and they made it to nationals.
Well, didn't, either the elementary or Boynton, because I know,
Yeah, Highbridge has had
Yeah.
it for years, and Boynton has made it before. But as this team, like this group of kids has made it, I think they made it when they were in Highbridge.
Mm.
okay,
Same
so
group
they're
has
going
made it,
through.
and now they got to the high school, and the high school's never had a team. And so Mrs. German said that she'd be their advisor, and first year for a high school team out of Messinic, and they made it to nationals.
Good.
Any idea how much money is in this trust?
$83,000.
It's a good chunk of change.
And I believe last year, the only thing that came out of it were the fees to manage the fund itself, about $300. And that's it. Like I looked real quick, and I would like to look at the other ones and find out, when they're looking, that we've got these other trust funds that are sitting there for maintenance.
That's why I'm
Education.
almost positive is that the way those are set up is that because the school doesn't have a trustee of the trust fund, we manage it, but I thought it was through them that. Well, we can check into that.
Yeah.
Senator Levesque,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank
Nice
you
to
for
see
coming.
all.
Uh,
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's spring and it's snowing out.
Yes.
Crazy.
how are the roads coming over from Nashua?
Not bad,
Not
but
too
I
bad.
think they might get worse. Yeah.
Would you do me a favor, give me that bulletin that you, from the LGC
Oh, yeah.
that you left in the folder? If you could grab that. Why don't you start telling us what's on your agenda, and then we do have things we'd like to discuss with you as far as our views on things that are happening up at the legislature.
Sure, that'd be great. Well, just so you know who I am, so I'm Melanie LeVake. That's my husband's name, so I'm always correcting people how to say it, LeVake.
Okay.
But anyway, so I live in Brookline, and I was a state representative for 6 years for Hollis, Brookline, and Mason. And then in November, I won my election for Senate for District 12. So I'm really excited to be your senator. I didn't get to New Ipswich as much as I would have liked to, So I'm really glad to have an opportunity to meet you. And hopefully we can exchange emails so that you can write to me when you have concerns. Because I think about, I'm on election law, I'm the chair of election law and municipal affairs. So I get a lot of bills that concern the towns with municipal affairs. That's not my strong point, and it's the area where I really need your input. So, one of the guys that I use, I don't know if you're familiar with New Hampshire Municipal Association, are you?
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why Colada we have it in the folder and I asked her if she could pull that.
And
Yeah.
hi, Colada, thank you for setting up this meeting.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is it's been very helpful for me because it helps me understand what your position is as well. So like if you have any bills that are on here, if you see anything that concerns you, if you can let me know, just send me an email and that will help with the decision on some of these bills. But some of the bills that we have dealt with and are dealing with, the biggest one I would say is SB 104, which is the bill that allows the moderators of town meetings to cancel or postpone an election due to the election we had, like, what was it, 4 years ago? When some people, voted, some people voted absentee.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't get to come out and vote because they thought it was canceled.
That was last year.
Yeah, okay.
But
I have no concept of time.
that's okay. We're all in that same position. The ones that, and I hope I'm speaking for the board, the ones that we are looking at are the ones that have a direct financial impact on the town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The first one, and I know the House, I don't know the numbers, but you'll know it when I
Yeah.
raise it. The House had passed it. My understanding is, though, it was set aside pending funding, but that is the state's responsibility to fund the retirement
system.
for the police and whatnot. And for the town of New Ipswich, it may not seem like a lot, but that we've operate on $2.4 million budget.
Mhm.
Okay, and $15,000 is what the state would be funding. And understand, I don't know how familiar you are with that, but when that was first established, the state was supposed to be paying a
Yeah.
larger portion. And since it's gone down to next to nothing, or it is nothing.
Right.
So whatever you could do, we would
Okay.
appreciate.
I feel strongly about that as well. As a matter of fact, when I was in the House, we hadn't started cutting that amount yet. And then when I was out, they cut more, and it makes an impact on our residents, on our taxpayers. So I'm definitely behind that, so I will make sure that we follow it closely.
Looking at the bigger picture, though, my personal thing on this is our Constitution says the towns are not responsible for requirements by the state without the state funding it.
Unfunded mandate.
Mhm.
Right. So now they required it. They said they were going to be doing it, and then they have the authority, I guess, to suspend their portion of what they've committed to. How does a small town like New Ipswich get that corrected?
Well, you're not alone. I mean, if you listen to Nashua, I mean, they've got even bigger dollars.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
been an issue that we've been hearing a lot about, and it affects every town. So, it hasn't come over to us yet, and I'm not sure what the status is in the House.
Well, the House, it passed,
It passed.
It
so
passed.
it should be coming.
but, and I forget what the terminology is when it passes, but it gets
Laid on the
set
table.
aside until they know where the funding is going to come from.
Yeah, so it was probably tabled until they, like you said, until they can figure out what the funding is. Because there's a lot of funding bills, and we can't do them all, so we're gonna have to prioritize and, like you said, figure out where we're gonna get the funds from. But one thing that is very important is that we have to give something back to taxpayers. We were hit with the largest increase that I've known with taxes. with our reevaluation, I don't know if it happened with you folks as well, when you did reevaluations, many people's taxes just like went up 50%. It was quite huge.
I know we always look at it, and at least my spiel to people, and they say, well, you know, my evaluation went up. The evaluation went up, but then the tax rate goes down, so in the end, it's
Yeah. but
pretty
when-
much.
When people
But-
got their tax bills, it.
Right, and there are those that if it did go up, it's things that need to be looked at. But you're right, that being the property tax is the main tax, and that's okay, as long as we're getting the reimbursements that we were promised. There was another one, and I see now that it's been approved, but New Ipswich was part of the communities where the dams were installed to protect the flooding of the downstream towns. And we were supposed to be reimbursed for that for years. As you know, that money also got suspended.
Yeah.
So if we were just given the money that
I'm
we were
sorry,
entitled to,
because
we'd probably be
We
okay.
want to give it back to you, that's why.
And I'm not saying,
Yeah.
and we all understand it's not you
Yeah.
personally, it's just
Yeah.
something that if it could get addressed, that would be
Yeah.
beneficial. If you guys have.
No, I mean, my whole thing is we're these things are being tabled and pushed aside, and I think we're just some of the focus of some people are it's just misguided. You know, everyone's bragging. You know, there was a letter in the newspaper today. This one of the I don't know if it's House or whatever is bragging because they helped push through this first bill. It's still got to go to the Senate, I believe, but it pushed through for the plastic bags and straws and everything else. And you know, the statistics on that, if you look at it, you know, as far as the plastics issue, the U.S. is responsible for 0.6% of plastics pollution, and of that, straws make up 0.02 of that 0.06. Is that really where we should be focusing our time? You know, on, I'm not saying that it's not a good thing, but we've got people focusing that, and how is that helping the taxpayer of New Hampshire right now?
Well, I can say that there's 400 House representatives, first of all. So they have a lot of different focuses, and we can do a lot of different things, and we have. It's really quite amazing the amount of things that we've done. Some that are, you know, for commerce, some that are in the environment space. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're doing. As far as, I gotta brag and say, I just got my order of paper straws from Amazon, because I usually say, oh, no straws, or I'll drive up to McDonald's and say, do you have paper straws? I just figure if I ask for them, maybe they'll eventually have them. But you know, I'm trying to do my part. I bring my little reusable bag, and if I don't get a bag, I take a box. You know, I'm trying to do my part so I can understand why people want to put in these bills. England has banned plastic bags, and you know, we're just trying to take care of the earth. But we can do many things, and we are. And as far as the tabling, it's not to say that it's pushed aside at all. I mean, in the Senate, we passed all these bills like family medical leave and funding for mental health and a lot of things. And then right after that, we tabled them. But we had to, because now again, you have to look at the budget and figure out, okay, we can do this, we can't do that. We've got to figure out what we can afford. They come off the table and they get put into the budget. And like the House does their thing, the Senate will probably undo everything that the House did, and then the governor gets his shot as well. But I think he had his first shot. But he'll get the final word as well. So that's just part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I know there's a lot of different bills going on. It's very interesting to hear them, I will say.
What about grant money for municipal projects? The last year or so, and this coming year, we're gonna be focused on trying to get a new police station built. We have a medieval facility up there where we actually chain people to the floor to hold them, if you can imagine that. And we the taxpayers just don't have the gumption to lay out $2 million.
Yeah,
Is there any grant money available for a municipal infrastructure improvement program or a police station or something that's desperately needed but really can't be funded by the community?
I can look into that.
I appreciate
You know, I'm thinking, our town just, wanted to buy 2 fire trucks. And I think we got 1, but I was thinking if we could get the funding elsewhere, like you said, like a grant, then it would offset the price for the, for our taxpayers, so I'll look into that for you.
Appreciate it.
Happy to. I did find out, meeting with somebody from LCHIP, that LCHIP has grants. So if you have like an old historical building, I'm gonna ask if they can help us with our church, but LCHIP does offer grants as well.
Yeah, we were gonna look into that, cause we do have what we call our Old Town Hall, which is on the National Historic Register to see. And they've actually, in one of the New Hampshire Preservation's emails, had kind of directed even at New Ipswich that, you know, these are available,
Yeah,
so.
should go for that, apply for that.
Yeah. Going through the LGC, one of the other ones that I'm looking at here is this, Senate Bill 148 to require towns to notify employees of union due options, which is, in my view, a total harassment of municipalities. We
that-
don't have any unions within our municipality, and why would we be required by a law to let new employees know what their potential union dues are?
Like, you don't have unions, but is it possible for members here to be part of a union?
There's not enough employees within the individual departments to do that. Now, if they took all the employees, I think they could. They tried that several years ago, and they decided it wasn't worth it. But even if it was, you know, why is the town obligated to do that? This to me sounds, it doesn't smell right.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I hate to say it, but it almost the smell of a backdoor politics. That somebody's in there trying to force it on the municipalities, which by reading it, I don't see what the benefit is.
I'm gonna ask, what does the municipal association say? We might have a different version. I'm looking at,
They're against it.
March 29th.
April 5th.
Okay.
I noticed, there's a bill that talks about restoring revenue sharing,
Yeah,
and,
you got it. First one.
yeah,
Yeah,
and New Ipswich is listed as,
right. And if I recall on that one, there was that 19,000,
I think it was
16,000
60. I printed it off in the back.
in the back. Okay, I looked at it online when I received it. 60,000. Yeah, that would go a long way. That would be.
Do you have the bill number on that?
It's actually part of the budget.
Part of the budget?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the municipal aid
Yeah.
for the revenue sharing program. And was also another one that had been suspended.
Mhm.
So,
They all will. They all will. It's just part of the process.
what do you mean they all will?
Well, as I said, before they put it into the budget, they lay everything on the table, anything that's money.
Oh, no, what I'm saying is, this
Oh,
goes
you
back
mean-
to 2010 and the state
Okay.
stopped,
They stopped
okay, we're not
doing
gonna give you
okay.
it, so,
Yeah, okay, yeah, I hear you. Okay.
I think there was any. And I will mention one that has nothing to do with, well, indirectly it does with the town, but, to vote in favor of the new building codes.
New building codes.
Yeah. That's been, I don't know if you've heard about it or whatever, but the state of New Hampshire is still operating on the 2009 building code. The State Building Code Review Board has, for the last few years, been trying to get that updated to the 2015.
Sounds familiar.
So an affirmative vote would be nice.
So we've got one coming up I want to ask you about, 307. 370, which allows a membership in city and town planning board, so it allows you to be on both or two boards.
Yeah,
So do you do that here? You can be on two boards?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We,
Do it via ex officio.
well, for example, Bert's a newly elected selectman.
Mhm.
He was the planning board chairman.
Okay.
So he's become the selectman's ex officio member on the planning board. I'm on the ZBA,
Yeah.
not as an ex officio, but as a member. So as long as we see them that they're not a conflicting position, then we do it. And I think as the LGC says, with the decline in volunteerism, you know, you do what you need to do.
Right.
We'd love, I think you came in a little after our opening announcement, but we are always asking the public to volunteer, be on a board. You know, the boards, you know, planning board meets twice a month, zoning board is once a month.
Mhm.
It doesn't take a lot of their time, but we appreciate if they could, because then,
Sometimes if you ask people personally, it
Mhm.
helps also, but we see the same things in our towns, but I will say that we're getting more younger people stepping up, and, you know.
what's the
really-
trick? How do you get
What's the
that?
trick? Asking,
So just,
you know, just talking to people. If you see them at the grocery store,
Yeah.
did you know there's a position open? And,
Yeah.
you know,
trust me, I do talk to a lot of people, and it's, you know, I really wish I had the time.
Well, I think that's, I mean,
part of it.
the article in the paper today, I think, where you talk about the younger people and asking. There was an article today about the youth in Peterborough feeling there wasn't enough happening in town that they could be involved in. And they had a lot of the adults in the audience tell them about all these different things happening. And one of the responses was from the youth was, well, how did we know that all this was going on if we weren't informed about it?
Yeah.
But I think again, it's that piece of, well, you learn about it by picking up the newspaper. The local newspaper has all these events listed in it, but as we all know, readership for local newspapers is very low. Readership of newspapers in general is low because you can pick and choose what you want to read. So no one reads the event section of the local newspaper. So I think exactly what you're saying is if we make sure to maybe reach out, are there any age restrictions on things? Then you know what, maybe we should be reaching out to some of our younger members of town and saying, hey, you're a registered voter, great, would you like to be involved?
And young families too, because they want their kids to grow up here and they want it to be the best place possible, so
Right.
you gotta step up and help out.
Yeah.
I'm from a small town too, so. we get the same-
Which town?
same thing. Brookline,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
And Hollis, I'm on the school board in Hollis as well. That's tomorrow night.
yeah. So what else is happening up on the hill there that we can,
Oh, well, I'm in judiciary, so we heard a very interesting bill today about crop theft. So for people who own farms and a lot of land, it could be blueberries, strawberries, corn, people are just like coming onto their property and they'll take, like, this guy said in his strawberry field, there was a family over there with a bowl of whipped cream. So they were just eating the strawberries with whipped cream. I mean, this is a mild thing. But there was another farmer who had 21 people get out of their cars and basically strip his field. of vegetables. And they don't have a lot of recourse. So what they wanted to do is to institute a fine of $500 if you're caught stealing, because the police would just let them go. The police don't do anything about it. So that was really interesting. My feeling was, think about if someone stole from Walmart,
Mm-hmm.
you're still stealing.
Right.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
needs
what
to
it-
be dealt with.
What is the retail impact on that if they went through and stripped a field? What would he have been able to sell that for?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it goes from, oh, I stole this to, $500, $1,000, $2,000 worth of product.
Yeah, it can be very costly. So that was eye-opening, and I told them they should go on Chronicle and educate people, because some people will just walk through a blueberry field. This woman owns a mountain, basically, and she has a blueberry field, and she has, it's her property, and when people go hiking, they think nothing of walking through her property, damaging the vines and things like that. And people need to be aware that if it says no trespassing, it's because it's somebody else's property and you don't belong there.
Mm.
But to hear them speak, it was really quite impactful. And then I can tell you that I'm working on a couple bills. One of them is voter registration. It's called the SMART Act, and it's registering to vote through the DMV. So the DMV has all the information when you fill out your license, or your request for a license. They ask you, are you a citizen? They ask you your date of birth, where do you live, things like that are critical for voting. So what we're suggesting is that we download that information on a regular basis and match it up with our central voter database. And the central voter database will have other pieces of information, and then it will show up on the supervisor of the checklist screen. And they'll have to fill in a couple spots, like if people want to declare what party they are, and also if they want to opt out. And the Secretary of State, we're asking that he would send a letter to each voter to fill that information out, and then that letter then goes to the city clerk or town clerk and the supervisor of the checklist. Then they finish filling out the information. So what this does is it gets people registered, and it's only the people that are getting a license. It's not for, for any other purpose. You can't go to the DMV and say, I want to register to vote. That's not what it's for. And it also doesn't take away the responsibility of the city clerk. So you can still go to the town clerk and register to vote, and you can do same-day registration. So it's just another way of registering people to vote with the information that we have. I like the way you're nodding.
They believe they have it in Pennsylvania, and it worked great when I moved there. I went to the DMV to get my license. They asked you right then if you wanted to register to vote, and then you got a postcard in the mail that you
Yeah.
had to present at the polls the first time you voted, and they verified your information. So you had to bring that and one other piece,
Yeah.
but it didn't take you 20, 30 minutes to sit there and register to vote. It was that
Yeah.
and verify your address, and you were done, and then you got to go vote. It was a great, it really was. It was good, and like you said, if you're already going and filling out that information, it takes that one step off of it, and it worked great. So
Well, that's good.
good luck.
It sounds good, and my feeling is it sounds good
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't incur more bureaucracy costs.
Yeah, the thing is, it's supposed to streamline.
Yeah, that'd be
because,
terrific.
you're not filling out a form and then re-entering the data.
Because the
which
information's going to be there.
it's already in the system. Because when you re-enter, mistakes happen. It's hard to read people's writing. It's getting used to a different way of working. And
Like I said, I think they had, like I said, they gave me a postcard, and I believe I was on like a new list or some.
yeah.
So it was just, so when I went, I had to check in the first time at a different table, but then but like I said, I didn't have to sit there and bring 28 pieces of documentation and sit there forever. It was very streamlined. It was good.
Yeah,
Well, you need to
that's
bring
good
the
to hear.
28 pieces to the DMV.
Right,
And
exactly.
I'm thinking that could be potentially seamless because we're tied in with the DMV, with the town clerk anyhow.
Right.
So maybe that would.
Well, in ElectionNet, the city clerk and the supervisor of the checklist probably have access to that.
Yep.
So that's where the information flows.
Good.
Yeah.
And then there's another system called ERIC that, it's a registration, voter registration database it's nationwide actually. And the idea is for all the states to buy into this. Right now there's 28 states that are in it, and it will allow us to check the information out of those, it's 26 states. Out of all those 26 states, it will check our voter list against theirs. So if somebody moved to Massachusetts or moved from Massachusetts, we're gonna see that. And it also detects fraud, so if there's somebody who's voted twice or someone who's in the system twice, it will quickly find it, and it, sorry about that. My sister was calling me, she's my business partner, and she has a problem, but anyway, we'll take care of that after. But what I was really impressed with was the ability to find fraud and dealing with exception reports rather than looking through every single record. And in a click of a button, they're gonna figure out how many records you have to look at. So it really saves time and helps to clean the voter rolls and things like that. Prevents fraud. It's really cool. So I'm proposing that the Secretary of State use that. We're getting out of our current system called Crosscheck. And there is no other system from what I understand, so I'm proposing that we use ERIC and pay for it with HAVA money, which is Help America Vote. And the SMART Act, which is the bill that I'm proposing for registration, I am proposing that we use those funds as well, HAVA funds, because we have $13 million in funds that are supposed to be used to help people vote, to reform our elections, to update and modernize our voter registration process, and for training, for voting machines. So we have all this money and we have this opportunity. Unfortunately, to be honest with you, the DMV doesn't really want to do it, nor does the Secretary of State. So that's why instead of $500,000, they're giving me a fiscal note of about $6 million. So, but I'm not gonna stop.
You just said something that kind of caught my ear.
What, 6 million?
Oh, that's nothing. The funding for voting machines.
Yeah, we have the money.
So how does a town of New Ipswich go about trying to get a grant or funding for
Shouldn't,
replacing antiquated voting machines?
I will find out for you, but it's gonna be through the Secretary of State.
Okay.
And I don't see why you can't use HAVA funds or some of the funds, but I was told that the towns pay for their own machines. Is that true?
We
That's
do.
correct. And
And-
ours is going to be out of date very quickly.
Or it's out of date now. I think our town moderator had noted to us at the last election in that we should be looking at another one. So if there is funding available that we need to pursue, if you could let us know.
I will be glad to do that. I think what else, I'm also on transportation, which
Oh.
is in the afternoon, and for some reason I have a hard time keeping my eyes open. But, so, so we talked about autonomous vehicles. We're doing some study on autonomous vehicles. And there's, we learned that there's 5 classes of vehicles. The first 3 are man-driven, or that the men have, well, there's some kind of control that you would have. The other 2 is totally automated. So I believe we're really focusing on 1, 2, and 3, and not, you know, the driverless. So there's gonna be a study on that. Nashua is one of my cities that I represent, and they really want rail. And we feel that it would really stimulate the whole state, especially if we could bring in some larger companies to, you know, help employ some of our people. So
Do we have
just-
people that are unemployed?
Yeah, we do. We have a low unemployment rate, but we have a lot of people that aren't working.
But is it that they're not working by choice? Because
Not
my understanding
necessarily.
is everybody is looking for help and nobody can get help.
Well, it's true. I mean, that's true. Nobody can get help. So we have a shortage of workers, and we do have workers that are unemployed that are not qualified to get a job. So we're trying to work on that as well, and we wanna put in place some job training programs that will get those folks the skills that they need just to get a job.
I think that's where the focus should be,
Yeah.
because, again, I'm not speaking for the town here, but I always hear about this economic development that's needed. And with economic development comes infrastructure. And when you mentioned that you're on the DOT committee, that perked my interest again,
Oh.
because the town of New Ipswich for at least the past 8 years has voted to fund via warrant article rebuilding of roads. Okay, because of the lack of funding we get from the state. And when I look through my travels of how much funding goes into upgrading our interstate highways constantly.
Like
93 has been a non-stop for as long as I can remember,
Yeah.
that I wish those in the legislature would understand that the people that are driving on those roads stop from our small communities. And it would be terrific if we could get a little bit more, the piece of the pie of the gas tax funding. It seems a large proportion goes to the state versus to the towns.
Yeah.
And while I'm on that, we have spoken with our local state reps to try and solve a problem we have with the state on a road. We have a road in town, which, as I just said, we've been rebuilding all of our roads for 8 years, and we have a road that the town has an agreement with the state, is the town provides the winter maintenance, the state is supposed to provide the summer maintenance. Well, as you might imagine, this road has not been maintained other than filling potholes, and it is atrocious.
Is it a dirt road or?
No, it's a class 5 paved road. It's a main road. It's Smithville Road. It's I think the designation is 123B.
A?
No, I don't think it's
I
A.
think it's B.
I think it's like B.
123.
But it's Smithville Road. We have tried to look at different venues. I know the state had a program at one point in time. We had a letter to the state back in 2006 where we were considering what the state inferred was that if the town took acceptance of the road, and we had a legislature to support the bill, I don't know if it's a bill, but to support it, the state would consider upgrading the road to some standard that would be undefined, but it was the town would take on the responsibility. Well, in addition to this road, there is a major bridge, and we would also have to take on the responsibility of the bridge, which, from a town's perspective, I would probably not be in favor of.
Yeah.
It's a large cash outlay if anything ever happened to
So
the bridge.
you have to take on the bridge?
Yes, that's what they
You're gonna
said.
fix the road?
Yes, because you come in on the road, there's a bridge, and then the road continues. The state did, I'm gonna guess right now, probably 4 or 5 years ago, did work on that bridge. So it may be good for another 20 or 30 years, but to handcuff the town to take on that because of the state's lack of maintenance on the road in the first place isn't right.
Yeah.
So, Representative Somero is working on this now?
Molino.
Marino?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Representative Somero looked at it last year from the perspective of that same process. And at that time, DOT had told them, well, there is no funding for that now anyhow. Even if the town did vote for it, there is no funding for them to fix the road.
So the state has no funding.
Yes, the state.
So what
So
do you think about raising the gas tax?
why raise it when the state's getting their coffers filled with the gas tax now and is hoarding it for 93 and
Yeah,
The-
there's a lot.
you know
more than
this
93. But
I
I'm
mean-
just talking about, like, if we're going to fix our roads and bridges, we need money.
Only if it was earmarked back to the towns.
Yes, yeah.
right.
But it's-
And they should do it incrementally. If I recall, just a couple of years ago, it went up 4 cents, I believe, and I think now they're looking at another 6 cents. Well, when you look at the current economy, you say, yeah, that's palatable. Well, having been around for a few years, within a couple of years, when the economy starts to go the other way, that tax doesn't change. That's there,
Right.
you know, so I just think a little more equalized distribution of their current funds would go a long way.
I'll beat 'em up.
Well, I just hope that you understand our viewpoint, being on the smaller town side versus what we see happening.
Well, I can understand that,
yeah.
certainly. I mean, I have Nashua, but the rest of the towns are towns. So they're all.
Another perfect example is look at Concord. They just redid 93 up through Concord, and now I understand they're going to redo that again. And you wonder why.
A lot of money.
Whereas back in, when I was reading that letter from 2006 from the state, their description was whatever they would do to upgrade that road, it would be good for at least another 10 years. And I'm thinking, that one went by already. So, and I've been in town over 30 years, and I can't ever remember the state doing that road, other than patching the potholes or
Yeah.
putting down a shim coat.
Okay. So just so I understand
Sure.
that with Smithville Road, you said the town takes care of it in the winter, the state takes care of it in the summer, but there's also a bridge that needs to be taken care of as well.
No, the state did work on that bridge, probably I'm going to say 4 or 5 years ago. They did work on that. But in that letter from 2006, they said if the town did vote to accept that road, they would also have to take over the maintenance of the bridge.
What do you mean, vote to accept the road?
Because any road, in order for it to be maintained by the town, either the Board of Selectmen have to receive an acceptance or a dedication from someone for us to accept it, or it goes on a warrant article for the town to accept it. If the town voted no,
Yeah.
then it would never be a town road.
So the town voted yes, right?
No, it never went
They
to
haven't
vote.
voted it off?
Right,
We never
because-
put it
yeah,
on.
Because the road's not, because we're not gonna vote to take it and have it say on paper, we accept the road,
Bridge.
and then the state goes, well, you've already accepted it, we're not gonna come fix it now. So we're not even gonna put it out to the voters or even discuss it unless the state comes and does to that road what we've been doing to all the other ones, which is take it down to the dirt and rebuild it.
Okay, so you need the state to rebuild the road.
Yes.
Rebuild.
And the town does our rebuilding on a much more economical scale than the state does. So if the state would just say, let us know what that cost would be, we would be more than happy to handle that if we knew what the, if the funding would come.
I'm sure the DMV would like to do that for me.
The DOT?
the DOT,
Oh, yeah,
DMV,
yeah.
Department of Safety.
Yeah.
They owe me one.
Good, thank you.
I will ask them about this and see what we can do. Is there anything you would like?
Thank you for asking. I'm good.
Well, I hope to be here more often.
Thank you.
I mean, I've got a lot of towns to cover, and I have a husband and,
You can bring
3
him.
jobs.
You can bring him.
Yeah, well, if you have a dinner or something, that's the only way it comes with me, if I can have me fed.
Yeah.
But, but I think it's really good for me to understand what your town needs. Like, I know in Mason, they need broadband. So how's your broadband? Is it good?
I can't say that there's any
No.
complaints. We have high-speed DSL and we have
It's
Comcast.
spotty though. There are sections that are,
Oh, well, I mean,
For
yeah.
which one?
down.
DSL or Comcast?
The broadband, they don't get it over on Mason Road, I think it's either that or, I don't remember which one it is.
But I don't know what their means of,
I think they got dial-up in a few places.
yeah, for the most part, we don't, at least I don't hear that people don't have it. It's pretty widespread. And since the ice storm from 2009 and Eversource has been out in this area for years, clearing the lines that our electric, which translates down to internet service, is much more stable.
Well, that's good.
So
Are there any other issues that are more like New Ipswich specific,
we
besides the roads and?
the board has set goals for trying to make New Ipswich. We know it's a bedroom community. We're not going to get the BAE systems or whatever to locate out here. We don't have the infrastructure to support it. But we do recognize that New Ipswich has traits that people like. They like the rural characteristics of it. And what we're trying to do, and we're just in the initial plans. Matter of fact, last week we met with Southwest Regional Planning. Next week we're meeting with UNH Cooperative Extension to try and come up with a plan to improve the town, to make it more attractive to even the smaller businesses. Within the last, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years, there was a school that's been closed. A developer purchased it, is renovating it, trying to get small businesses in there. We've got a new store in town. We've got some local small businesses, and we're trying to foster that. And not having done that before has been a challenge. And we're trying to hear from people how to do it. What do we need to do? So that's what we
That's
need.
where you start, right? Now, I noticed that, I was driving by the Congregational Church, down that road behind the church. Well, it's not behind it. It's
The dirt
beyond
road?
the church.
The dirt
The
road?
dirt road.
That's
Mhm.
Bullet Road, yeah.
That's a bad road.
That's one of our better ones.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, that
Well,
was-
no,
For
we,
a dirt road?
no, it's all our dirt roads took a pretty bad beating a couple weeks ago. We had that quick thaw, like we went from 30 to 60 in about 36 hours, and then, a lot of our dirt roads took because we had a very wet summer, very wet fall, and so all the water's just there. But our DPW went through, put rock down and things like that. But I mean, those are dirt roads, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's in our plan. Like this year, we're getting rid of 2 more dirt roads. We're paving 2 more dirt roads. So I mean, that's in our long-term plan. Is that it's 2019. I mean, and we shouldn't continue to be maintaining dirt roads.
Yeah.
Now, we do have some people in certain areas that love the fact they have a dirt road because to them, they think it keeps people from speeding down the road. But
So did you get sidetracked by going up there?
I was
Are we
going to
just on-
somebody's house and I used
Oh.
my GPS and I was right by the church. So
Yeah.
I just went down that road. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that was really bad.
Yeah.
She actually said to me, why don't you come back in the spring? But,
Does she live on that road, or
She
were you
lives
using it
off
as a
that
through
road.
road?
Oh, okay.
and I would have been better off to
Just
come
taking
on
a
the
right,
main
yeah.
road and go
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
but also, that's a really nice area where
Mhm.
that big old house is.
Yeah.
don't know.
Barrett House.
Barrett House,
Yeah.
yeah. And do they open up?
They're open up on the weekends.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
tours and
That's
everything.
nice.
Yeah.
That would attract people to go down there.
But that's
Yeah.
what we're trying to
Nice
do, is
area.
like, if we could, start,
Yeah.
the plan is something near the center.
Yeah.
And because that is an attraction on weekends, we've got there is not part of the town, but the Historical Society, which is separate from the town, they have their place that's open during the summer on weekends. But just something to bring the people in, and
Bring the families out and
yeah,
ice cream.
and appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That we have one of the few cross-country ski areas right here in town, and quite a few people come for that.
It's good.
So, whatever we can try and think of, or if there's anything that you care to share with us at any
Yeah.
time, let us know.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd also like asking I know we did like a 10-year plan, and that brought in a lot of people from the town that had different ideas, and a lot of younger people as well. So,
That's one of the things that came up with Southwest Regional Planning, is we do have a master plan, and that's something that they suggested that we start looking to update. We do have a capital improvement plan that looks out 10 years.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, that's a really great exercise, and if you, again, by word of mouth, asking some of the people, they may have kids in school, and, what do you want this to look like? So,
and that's our challenge right now, is when we do it, is how we get even the people to come to
Right.
that, to give us their feedback. That's
ice cream.
ice cream,
Food.
food, that does it.
Babysitting, yeah. we need
Yeah.
Babysitters, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
Well-
like what you're doing here, and, I think it's pretty exciting.
We're trying.
Yeah. And I got like 9 things on my list to do, so.
If we knew you were coming tonight, we could have done a lot more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's
No.
fine. That's fine.
Jeremy and I had exchanged voicemails, and
Okay.
I thought you were coming, but I wasn't 100%
Oh.
certain,
Yeah,
so I didn't put it on the agenda, but
okay.
I was glad to
It
see
was
you.
on
No
my
problem.
calendar.
No problem at all.
that was the important.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Yeah, very
Jeremy's
nice.
no longer here, it's Ava.
Okay,
Yeah, so he was great, and she's amazing, so
okay, good to know.
they keep me in check. So, are you adjourning after this?
No, we
No.
have other business here. Yeah.
I'll leave you to your business then. Can I just, say it was nice to meet you? Nice to meet you, Carlotta.
Dave Lake.
Dave, pleasure.
John Beasley,
John,
nice to meet
pleasure.
you.
All right, great to see you all. I will
Thank
get
you.
back to you with answers to your questions.
We look
okay?
forward to you coming
Right,
again.
I will be back.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Take care.
To make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Sure.
All in favor?
All in favor?
I am Melanie, Senator
Hmm?
I thought you had a prior engagement.
No, the next one I'm gone for is the 23rd.
Yeah, I met you at the polls, back
We just have a few more items on the agenda. No, you're fine right where you are.
So we decided we're gonna post the animal control.
The animal control.
Okay.
Pool director position, you're saying has been posted,
and has
and has that gone in the paper?
been in the paper, it's been on the website, I think it's been on Facebook.
Can we get that pushed up on the website if it's not
Sure.
front and center, and repost it again in
Yeah.
the paper? Because that's a position that we are gonna need to get filled if that
Right.
pool's going to open.
Mhm.
I'd ask Alana to put the Finance Advisory Committee on here, just so that you know, I had a conversation with Rob about that. He was thinking budget committee and that he would do the appointments. And looking through the RSAs, there is nothing that says who appoints the finance advisory committee. But I told Rob if he could do it, that'd be great. That way there's no
Right.
bias on our part. So
Nope, I
he's
think
going
that's
to
great.
do that.
Yeah, because I know in years past, I think the selectmen appointed something, and then because I think Earl Somro appointed me to the finance advisory when.
Yeah, and I couldn't remember who appointed me, so
Yeah.
I said, do it.
Yeah.
Well, are the selectmen going to have a representative on
Yes,
both these?
yeah,
Okay, fine.
yeah.
Which I was gonna say I don't have a problem being the
Perfect.
person.
Good. Since we're going to be going into the non-public, would you like to put the ordinance review off until
Next week.
Actually, the week after, I think, because
Uh,
next week we have the gentleman from UNH Cooperative Extension coming in to talk, similar to what Southwest Regional Planning had last week.
John, what's your schedule? I think you have some.
Right. So that's the week. So the 23rd I won't be here. But I mean,
We can go the week after the
30th.
30th.
That's fine.
Let's put that in. Review.
Where did we stand on other appointees? Were all the calls made? Can we start appointing people?
You know, I had asked Jessica about the Board of Assessors, if she had reached out to Mr. Somro, and she hadn't, and I said, well, you did get on that,
Who was the top vote on that one?
Bos Somro?
No.
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 I thought on the
Rogers.
assessors. I thought it was Benty and.
No.
No,
No.
Benty's trustee of trust funds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, yes. Let me get that.
Who's Roger's brother?
Brian.
Brian.
Okay, the treasurer was Nancy. Board of Assessors was Brian Sommer. Did Jim tell us, who does appoint the vacant position? Is it the selectmen or the Board of Assessors?
I think he says they do theirs.
I printed out the statute, I have it in my office.
Wanna grab that? Cemetery of the Trustees.
It was Jay.
Who my understanding was, it was a
It was a hearty no.
hearty no. But I'm understanding, I'd like, before we make any appointments, to just bring the people in, that this person was interested in it.
So is he.
Him too?
Yep.
So then we could,
Yeah, we could fill the 2 spots.
Yep.
Because yeah, he was he's actually reached out to me and said that he was very interested in taking on a position.
I'm gonna just,
So all I need to do is tell him that it's a yes.
well,
Right.
have him come in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have no problem if y'all do that on the 23rd, if people are in town and whatever.
See also on this one, in here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the same.
right there,
Yeah.
yeah. He said no.
Okay.
Planning board, did you say that they had reached out to Nathan?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's coming in on the 17th. We'll probably appoint him an alternate then. I will be resigning, and Lou Alvarez will probably be named as a permanent member. And then we wait on Ed, whatever happens whenever.
Lou the only alternate right now?
No, John Schlafel hasn't really formally taken a seat, but he got elected.
he got
He
elected,
got
so-
elected this last time.
Yeah,
So Lou is the only,
Lou's the only
well,
alternate.
Debbie is too. And Ned Nichols.
Oh, okay, so
But
he stayed on as an
He
alternate?
stayed on as an alternate, but he's never here.
Trustees of the trust funds.
I guess I don't have the answer specifically about assessors.
I think what he did last time is they nominated someone and asked us to approve it. That is what it was.
On the Board of
I
Assessors.
think, yeah.
Yeah, because I think if I recall under the RSA, what I had found was on certain positions, the specific board can fill the position. Whereas the others, and I think it was those that were elected positions, so like, say the planning board, because those are elected positions, the planning board can fill that, and that's why I would have thought that the Board of Assessors fell under that same,
Yeah, I think that,
is that how it
it
is?
says whenever a vacancy occurs in any elective town office, or whenever a town neglects or refuses to fill an elective town office, said vacancy shall be filled by the action of that body or person authorized by law to appoint or elect such officer for a term ending upon the election and qualification of successor. But then, it goes on to say specifically if it's the moderator this, if it's the selectman that, if it's the supervisors that.
Does that continue or is that the end?
I'll look further.
Okay. Do you know any of these people? Other than,
No, I mean, by name,
okay,
I probably couldn't pick him out if I had to. It's one of those things I probably know him, but I wouldn't be able to pick him out.
okay.
But he was a lead on both of them.
3 year, 2 year, okay. And do you know if Jessica's reached out to anybody on these lists?
I know she hadn't reached out to Mr. Summerville.
Okay.
What were the other ones?
Cemetery trustees, so there's 2 positions on that. And John says that this gentleman has approached him and said that he was very interested.
Oh, okay.
And I had also heard that this gentleman
Okay,
was interested.
okay.
You can take this, I just put the asterisk, and then,
I don't know if that was, if she wrote that, I wrote, that's the number I have
okay,
for him.
here's 2 numbers.
Okay.
And then Bert just confirmed that Nate has been contacted and he'll be coming to the next planning board.
Okay.
And the trustee of the trust funds.
That was Benty, wasn't
No, it's
No,
Eric.
it looks like Eric Olson
From both.
for both.
it? Steel Trust Funds.
Yeah, Benty's not even, oh, Benty was one.
Oh, 'cause they had appointed him. To fill it,
Okay, so he's already taken that?
but that would have just been till the election. So now I guess they have to offer it to Eric. But if he doesn't want it, then I think Bendy does.
Okay. Well, there's actually 2 positions, and Eric was,
Well, are there? 'Cause there's,
yeah, one was a 3 year and one's
One
a
was a-
2 year.
yeah.
So the one that they had appointed Benty for was to complete somebody's 1 year portion, and so the balance of that term was open.
Oh, okay.
And then who would have been the,
It was Woody and Carol.
so then somebody must have withdrawn or resigned, because there's normally 3. Someone would have resigned, and that's when Benty was appointed,
Yeah.
and Benty would have been appointed through the next election.
Right.
So I'm assuming whoever resigned had 2 years left.
But who didn't get reelected? Woody or Carol?
No, Carol wasn't up for re-election, I don't believe. I think she's still on. I would
Couldn't
have,
be on, because then there'd be
I
4
don't
people.
know.
There's only 3 on the trustee of
I
the
can go
trust fund.
grab a town report real
Yeah.
quick.
I can't remember who the trustees were.
Woody Meisner, Carol Romero, and when I started, there was not a third.
Can I assume then that Carol would not have run, and that's why the 3-year...
Woody expired in 19, so
Really?
he didn't,
So he's
put his
not a
name in.
trustee anymore.
yeah. And then George Slyman Jr. resigned, so that,
Okay,
so
he
Woody
resigns, that's how the
Woody didn't run
2-year
for re-election.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Carol's through till next year.
So it's current.
I mean, I've been like talking to Woody
Yeah,
every day
yeah.
about filing the MS-9 and the MS-10
Well-
and the scholarship, and I didn't realize he's not a
And I talked to him
trustee.
yesterday, and I said, "Oh, how things going? You know, what are you up to?" I don't have time. Don't think you're gonna point me to something. I didn't know that he wasn't the trustee.
Yeah.
Hmm,
Well,
okay.
ask him if he'd reconsider, and then we can appoint him and contact the other gentleman. He may be
Okay.
interested.
Okay.
Okay, you wanna do your 91A thing?
Sure. Motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.